Namaskar and a very warm welcome to Question Answer with Swami Kriyananda. Practice makes a man perfect. This we have heard several times, but we hardly manage to obey it because we are so impatient. We want everything very quickly. We want the results to be very quick. I'm not going to tell you. Swami Kriyananda is going to tell you how to keep patience so that you achieve lots and lots of your goals in your life. Welcome, Swamiji.
Thank you.
Swamiji, I would request you to start the program with a wonderful prayer.
Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva, tvameva bandhu cha sakha tvameva, tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva, tvameva sarvam mamo deva deva. I bow to that Lord of Lords. I bow to him in all of you, because all of you, all of us, are his manifestations.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. Friends, as you already know, Swami Kriyananda is one of the very few living direct disciples of Paramhansa Yogananda, author of a spiritual classic, Autobiography of a Yogi. Swami Kriyananda founded Ananda Sangha, a worldwide organization for the dissemination of Yogananda's teachings. And Swami Kriyananda has written 84 books, which
86 now.
Okay, it has really exceeded the numbers.
difference.
And it has been translated into 27 languages. And you have composed over 400 pieces of music. Is some more composition around?
You know, I feel I have said what I have to say through music, and so I have not written anything for several years.
This is wonderful, Swamiji. Swamiji, we have been talking about patience, which usually we human beings lack about. We would love to know how to keep patience within us, because this is really required to lead a very successful and healthy life.
It's a very important subject, and one that I have had to struggle with because my nature is impatient.
Okay.
When I see something, I want to get it done. It was something like a story of my guru. He wanted a room painted, and he was with his most advanced disciple the next day, and Mr. Rogers was the painter.
Okay.
And Mr. Rogers had not yet bought the paint. And Yogananda said, and he painted this whole room all by himself. It hadn't even been painted. He saw everything as done, you know, everything was now for him. But that is the actual secret of patience, not to think of ourselves as living from moment to moment, but living in the eternal now, as I saw him live. We need to feel that right now is the only reality. And although we would like to get things done quickly, we can do them much more quickly. And this is a very interesting fact, that if you live in the present, you can get things done in virtually the present. I have, for instance, I've written a commentary. It's really my guru's commentary on Bhagavad Gita, but I don't have access to his original files. I'm not, to be honest, I'm not pleased with what was published of that. It was too labored over. They spent 45 years doing it. Fortunately, I have a very clear memory. And I sat down on October 3rd of this year, 2005, and, well, that was last year now. And I started to write it. In less than 2 months, I did over 600 pages.
Wow.
That is something that you couldn't do if you were impatient. But you do just take one moment at a time, and when I do something, I don't let anything else enter into my mind. That is what I'm doing. I'm living in the present. With that thought, you find that you can accomplish what seemed like miracles, because you banish time. There's another thing with patience, though, and that is that you have to learn to be patient with people. And the reason for that is that they are themselves. Nobody will be what you want him to be. You have to accept them as they are. You have to accept reality as it is. You cannot wish things to be other than they are. And the interesting thing is that instead of making you passive, you can do much more good for other people and much more good in the world if you have this attitude. Other people will be helped if you see it from their point of view. If you say, well, he's doing the best he can for who he is, and work with that reality, you will find that you can inspire him to want to be better. But if you keep telling him you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, he will just dig in his heels and be more of that. And the same thing with yourself. You aren't perfect. I don't assume you are. Why would you listen to a television program if you were? I'm not perfect. Why would I be giving it? Because I want to serve my Guru. Because I believe that his mission is something that the whole world needs. But a part of that mission is to help people to understand in very practical terms how by living right here and right now they can achieve eternity and infinity. And being in that state right now means that somehow everything works out for the best for you. To be patient is, above all, simply not to be attached. To accept what is and not to wish it different. And you can make it different once you've accepted it as it is.
Swamiji, you are patient enough to listen our queries and answer them. But you know, our viewers are not at all patient. The moment we start our program, they start calling us immediately, instantly, and they want their questions to be answered. So I think it's time to take up a question. You may please ask your question. Hello.
Namaskar Swamiji. I am Amit from Ghaziabad. I ask you a question. Why do people say money is the root of all evils? Without money, a person can't even live.
No, and they're quite wrong to say that money is the root of all evil. Money does a lot of good. Money can do evil, money can do bad. What is the root of all evil is attachment to money, desire for money. When you desire what you don't have, that means all your energy is going away from yourself. What we need to do is understand that we have and we are what we want right now. You have God in yourself. And if you keep thinking that He's sort of like a donkey with a carrot on a stick, and the donkey keeps trying to reach that carrot, but of course he can't reach it because it's tied to his head on a stick. Meanwhile, he carries a cart behind him full of all sorts of baggage, and that baggage is your worries. And as you strain for happiness and you strain to make money, my Guru met somebody who, after many years, had managed to become a millionaire. And my Guru said, "Now finally, are you happy?" "No, I won't be happy until my cousin has made 40 million. I want to be as rich as he." Well, before he could reach his 40 million and be happy, he died of a heart attack. It's just not worth having that desire. You can be content with very little. You know, there was a time in my life when I was living on $10 a month. Now, that is not quite like 500 rupees or 450 or whatever the exchange rate is. It's much less in Indian terms. It's like what an ordinary coolie would make in this country. And I managed to live on that, and very happily. It's true, I lost a little weight, but I learned how to do it. And I was happy, and that's the important thing to understand. You know, I've seen in the villages of India more smiling faces than I have seen in the big cities in the West. You go to New York and everybody's got this sort of iron veil over his face. It's not what you have, it's what you're content with. Poverty is not having too little money, it's having not enough money for what you want. And that wanting for money, that desire for money, is the root of evil. But money in itself, we need it. You need money to buy food. You can do good with money too. But the real evil, again, I should say, is desire and attachment.
Swamiji, you have been wonderful enough to teach us a lesson, Santosham Param Sukham.
Right.
Self-content is the best thing that can make us
Santosha
happy.
is the most, that's contentment,
Yeah.
is the most important virtue according to Yudhishthira in the Mahabharata.
That's true. That's true, Swamiji. And only you can explain us all these things. Thank you so much for explaining us. But still, there are so many callers who want their questions to be answered. You may please ask your question. Hello.
Swamiji, namaskar. Swamiji, I am Dushyant from Ahmedabad. Swamiji, tell me more about Om. Om is something, is it real that I could hear myself?
Om is, you've asked sort of the $64,000 question here. It's an easy question to answer, but not quickly. When God created the universe, God manifested, God was Brahman, it's like an ocean, without any waves on it. When God decided to create, then he moved a portion of his consciousness, you might say like on the ocean, the waves begin to rise. And those waves are a vibration. Wherever there is vibration, there is a movement in opposite directions, which is Dvaita, duality. And in that movement, that produces sound. If you take a stick and move it quickly, you will hear a sound. When I move my vocal cords, they produce a sound. If there was not that vibration, there would be no sound. So Om is in fact the vibration that produced the entire universe. Now, is it possible to hear that? Yes, it is. And this is the true Om, the true chanting of Om. There are three aspects to Om: the creative, the preservative, and the destroying or all dissolving. And these are mythologically explained as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. These are mythological in that Om is not a person with a body. Om is that infinite vibration, but it's very difficult to understand these things without giving them form. So we have the forms of Vishnu and all that, but they're all allegorical, they're metaphorical. Om is all of those. This is why when you chant the threefold Om, 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 Om. The first one is Brahma, it's the higher sound. Om, that's Brahma. Om is Vishnu. That's the preserving thing that keeps everything in its state as it is. And then Om is Shiva, which dissolves everything back. And then you can hear all three of these. And the wonderful thing about that, you can listen to the most beautiful music in the world, and after a while you'll get tired of it because the senses get tired of being constantly stimulated. But Om plays on the heartstrings of your own being. And you could listen to it for all eternity and never get tired. So the thing is to listen. Now that's a technique I don't feel I will teach on television. But if you would like to get it, you can get it in reading my Guru's book, which I will have come out in March of 2006. I don't know just when this program will be aired, probably after that, so probably you can find it. And it is also something that we teach in Yogoda, in our Ananda Sangha, as well as from Yogoda Satsanga. And this technique is a very high technique of yoga. Listening to the sound in the right ear is where you hear it first. If you hear it in the left, never mind. Enjoy it, but try to bring it to the right. And then bit by bit you will begin to feel it all over your body. Your whole body will vibrate with that sound. And then it goes deeper. But I think this is a bit of a deep teaching to give on a question and answer program over the television.
But Swamiji, still it was so mind-blowing, it was so inspiring. We could really learn a lot from you. And I think...
I learned a lot from my Guru.
Oh, wow. And I would love to take more and more from you. And my viewers are also waiting so that they can also grasp more and more from you. So you may please ask your question.
Swamiji,
Yeah.
I'm Alex from Goa. I know we are not supposed to be attached to the things of this world. But I love my children so much. How could God want me to love them less?
You know, Ramakrishna had a beautiful answer to that, because there was this woman who came to her who had just had a baby, and she was so attached to this baby it was hard for her to remember Krishna. So Ramakrishna said, why don't you think of your baby as Balakrishna? Wow. Just think of the baby or of your children as Krishna or as God in that form. And you will find that you can give them much more that way. And you will find also that you can, by your non-attachment, you can be free. And in that freedom, you can teach them right. Because so many times, children do naughty things, and parents get excited and get angry. But they don't help the children when they do that. When you can be non-attached, you can help each child as it should be helped. I remember one time when I was a child, it was in Teleagen in Romania, and my parents had just had the bathroom painted, and it was a beautiful thing, and I was only 4 years old, I think, and I, in my ignorance, wanted to help make the process more beautiful. So I took a chisel or screwdriver and made a big star on the paint that they had just put. Well, of course my parents were very upset with me, and my father gave me a good spanking. Well, my brother also, who was much naughtier, he got a spanking. Well, my father said, I learned after giving you a spanking, 2 weeks later you looked at me and you said, why did you spank me? It seemed to me unjust. So he understood that he had to deal with us in different ways. My nature was more mental. My brother was very more physical. And the spanking he could run off and forget. I couldn't forget. If it was just, I would accept it. If it didn't seem just, then he should have explained to me why it wasn't just. So you have to, and you can't do it as long as you're thinking you. But if you're not attached, and if you see God in all these different forms, then you can teach your children according to what they need. It is true that you must reach that point of seeing God in everybody, and that must come to the point where you understand it's all He, so that if a child dies, you give him back to God. But I know it's not easy, and this life is not easy. But the more you practice these things, not only will it become easy, but you will be able to do more good for other people too, including your children. Many times it is the grandparents who can do more for the children than the parents because the parents are too attached. It's your non-attachment will help you to do the best you can for them.
Thank you so much for your answers, Swamiji. A caller is waiting for his turn. Let's take the call. You may please ask your question.
Swamiji, namaskar. I am Raju from Gurgaon. My mind is so restless. It is hard for me to meditate. Can you help me?
You know, one thing that's very interesting is that when people go to the movies, they all become good yogis. You see them glued on the screen. And so if you think of meditation as something interesting, it's much easier. One difficulty is you close your eyes, you don't see anything. If you see Bindu there, if you see the light, then it sees something. But when the mind is restless, it doesn't see the light. And so to calm your mind is one of the reasons for yoga. There is a close connection between the mind and the breath. And in this age, because in this new age, people understand that everything is energy, so they understand the energy of the body. Most people think pranayam means control of the breath, but prana really is energy. And there's the prana and apan in the spine. Pran comes up in the ida nadi, as it's called, the nerve channel. Apan goes down in the pingala. And it is intimately connected with the breath. So that when you feel excited or happy, you inhale, don't you? And when you feel depressed, you sigh. When a baby is born, it inhales and cries. When a person dies, he leaves his body. All of these things are connected with the energy in the spine. Now, yoga and pranayam are mainly to do with energy. Control the energy in your body, and your mind also will become calm. Therefore, some of the pranayams of yoga and the exercises of meditation and so on, these are necessary. Without them, the mind is chanchala, very, very restless, always. And so you need to keep your mind here, or you can practice just one thing. Watch the breath. Watch it coming in through the nostrils. And just as it comes in, mentally say hong. As it goes out, sa. That's really sort of a bija mantra of aham saha. I am he. I am aham saha. Hong sa. When you say hong sa, that dissolves the mind in calmness. Practice that. My guru used to do it 2 hours a day as a young man, as a boy, and until he went breathless. And you can go breathless. In breathlessness comes real calmness. You don't need the breath then because you're sustained by the inner energy. I won't go into all that.
Wow. Wow, Swamiji, thank you so much. And we have got a last caller who would love to know something about his life, and he wants the queries to be answered by you. Yeah, you may please ask your question.
Swamiji, namaskar. I'm Anna from Chennai.
Okay.
Swamiji, I ask you that how can we gauge our spiritual progress?
Well, I tried to answer that in my last question. You know, the first and most important thing on the spiritual path is devotion. There's a very interesting passage in the Gita, and I don't remember where it is, unfortunately, but Krishna mentions the necessities of mon, buddhi, and ahankar, and he leaves out the fourth and most essential, chitta, feeling. He doesn't speak of devotion, and I raised the question, why doesn't he? And the answer is that the whole Gita is devotion. Everything you do, whether you practice Jnana Yoga, the path of discrimination and wisdom, whether you practice karma, whether you do anything in the way of yoga, there must always be devotion. When you do yoga practices, there has to be devotion, because where the heart's desire is, that is where your treasure is. There will your heart be. Where your heart's energy goes, that's where your whole energy goes outward. When a child sees, let us say, an ice cream cone, he's all excited because you can see all his energy is going outward, isn't it? And when you can learn to bring that energy under control and direct it up your spine, the whole Gita is really yoga. It's an aspect of it most people have not known, but my Guru's explanation makes it very clear. Krishna speaks of yoga again and again, and finally he says, Arjuna, be thou a yogi. Yoga means, you see, there are three philosophies. Not really philosophies, they're called that, it's wrong. Philosophy means love of wisdom. Truth is wisdom. Jnana is wisdom. But Sankhya philosophy, as they call it, basically it tells you the whole philosophy of the way the universe is made and so on, and how we need to get away from this Maya. Then Vedanta tells you what the infinite is like. But yoga tells you how to do it. And without knowing how to do it, you can't get there. So the three together are very necessary, and Krishna teaches all three in the Gita. So the way to seek God is, first of all, to love Him. You have to develop love. And one way to develop love is because it's very difficult to imagine God as an abstraction. Even to imagine love as an abstraction is very difficult. You have to think of it in a form that is meaningful to you. And people have taken Kali, who doesn't seem very lovable when you look at her, but indeed many saints have loved that form. I remember my Guru was having a vision of Kali, and I remember him saying, "Oh, you are so beautiful." So that aspect of Kali is not what you see with the mouth hanging out. But you know why she has her tongue hanging out of her mouth? It's because she is doing the dance of creation. And Shiva is God, Brahman, beyond creation, and he's completely still. And as her dance of vibration keeps going, and her forearms represent the four aspects of creation, preserving, and destruction, and then blessing the devotee with mukti. And when her foot touches the breast of Shiva, she stops. And you know, when you make a mistake, you put your tongue between your teeth, don't you? We do it, other languages do it too. Uh-oh, I've gone too far. That's why they now have it lolling out as if she were bloodthirsty. That's not the meaning. She says, oh, I can't dance anymore, I've touched the infinite. That's the real meaning. And so when you have that love for God, loving mother is a very nice form, because the mother loves you even if you're naughty. And we've all been naughty, so it's good to be able to pray, Mother, naughty or good, I'm still your child. But to love God in any form that is dear to you. Remember, Ram Prasad was a great Bengali yogi, and well, a bhakta, but I think he was a yogi also. And in one of his songs, he says, Shotta, shotta, shotta ve tara amar nirakara. My Tara has no form. And he, although he worshipped God in the form of Kali, he said, I know you have no form, but I prefer to worship you in this form. And many masters, even after they attain the infinite, like to come down and worship God in an I and thou relationship, because it's sweet that way. So think of God in any form that really appeals to you. And then always, even if you have a vision of God in that form, look in the eyes and realize that the consciousness is infinite. There is no form there. So you go from form to formless, and from seeing God in things to seeing Him behind all things. And this is the way to begin your advancement. The next thing is we all need jnana, we need discrimination. this is a long subject. I can't go on further today.
But still, Swamiji, we would really request you to keep it more and more so easy and comfortable for most of us, that we do understand more about our culture. Even though we are Indians, we know more about our culture, but still listening from you is really spellbounding. We had so many words to start up with, but really now I'm not having even a single word to express. Thank you so much for giving these teachings to us. Thank you so much.